is we were thinking about, and we did a little bit, of quote advocacy. We have some people with skills, some lawyers, for example, who could take cases for people who are falling between the cracks.
Oh, desperate need for that.
And that doesn't have, they could communicate by phone and electronically or otherwise. They don't have to be here.
I had a sergeant major, a very old man, come in for help here about 2 weeks ago, and I had to call the congressman's office yesterday because FEMA determined he'd been dead for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I called up Chris and I said, okay, Chris, where do I go for help with this man? Because FEMA's pretty well cut him off at the pass. He's dead. So he's now down at the congressman's office, supposedly today, to get some help so that we can get there. That happens all the time. And culturally, these people never transferred the land out of their grandparents' name or their great-grandparents' name. So the land, when the storm hit, was in some other else's name.
Yeah.
And that created a problem with FEMA because technically they were then declared renters. They're not declared homeowners. Mm-hmm. So I need help getting the land back over to their real name and then filing the appeals so that we can get the money to them that's due to them. But this is very traditional in the black community not to transfer the land because then Grandpa never dies.
Right.
Grandpa lives on. And that's just the way it is.
Well, plus you don't have to deal with the hassle of probating an estate.
And the other problem is they don't read or write.
Yeah.
But nobody. They took one of the guys one of the men from over there who went ahead and filed a FEMA claim, who had lived in, the house was given to him. He went ahead and filed all the paperwork, did everything he was supposed to do. And it turned out that he had never transferred the land out of his great-grandpapa's name, so they indicted him. Mm-hmm. Instead of helping him fix the problem, they indicted him. I mean, that's nuts.
So let me just push on this. If we would have, and obviously it's our job to get ourselves in place first, but if we have a group of advocates who would be willing to take up these cases, would you be able to identify cases for them to take?
Oh yeah, then I'd start approaching these differently. And all I'd need is a place to fax the work orders to, because that's what I like to do. These are my work orders. We just take the work orders and I write it up as these girls call. If they figure it's a legal problem, they can just fax it off that day to wherever it needs to go to. There can be a central processing place for just processing the faxes. One person would be designated as a responsible party for handling the legal issues, and you fax them all to the one spot. And then how he distributes them, it doesn't matter because they're going to get a phone call from somebody that they don't know anyway. But the problem here is not just Katrina. The problem in the South is poverty. So maybe instead of addressing this just as a Katrina issue, maybe we should redefine it as dealing with a poverty issue and give it a new buzzword. Give it a new buzzword. Give it a new buzzword so people understand exactly what it is they're working on, because it is not just Katrina. So if they haven't got far enough through school, that then becomes a less obvious problem. So when you give them a form to sign, they can sign it, and there's no problem. Ask them to read that form and then tell you what it means. That's an entirely different thing, and that's what FEMA's doing to them. FEMA's giving them very convoluted, complicated, long and tedious packets to fill in, and they just can't do it. So what they do is nothing.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing now. A lot of people coming in that have done nothing for a year and a half.
And you don't know how the language,
They don't understand the comprehension. They don't understand the subtleties of the questions, and they're not answering the questions appropriately. Not because they're lying, but because they don't understand.
Right.
I mean, when I ask them, when they come in the office, first question is, are you phase 1, phase 2? And they'll look at me and go, what's that? Well, by now they should know the difference between a phase 1 and phase 2.